Was Mars habitable 3.5 billion years ago? We found that yes, it could have been habitable. It had the right ingredients. So then Perseverance takes it one step up, right? And it says, okay, well, if it was habitable, was there life on Mars?
The Mars rover just sent back images that NASA didn't want anyone to see. Strange shapes and shadows are hiding in the red dust, and they're definitely not rocks or hills. People are starting to wonder, what could really be up there just out of sight? Could there be something far more shocking on Mars? Tune in, because what we are about to uncover will change everything you thought you knew about the red planet. Hidden water found on the red planet. The rovers aren't just joyriding around the red planet, taking selfies. They're up there with some serious tech, sniffing out soil samples, looking for signs of water, and even hunting down potential evidence of life. You'd think with all the shiny gadgets they've got, we'd have a clear-cut answer by now about whether this place once supported life. Instead, what do we get? Vague reports, cautious language, and a lot of maybes. It's almost like they want to keep us guessing, or keep something hidden. Because when you start digging through all those data dumps and mission reports, things start looking a bit odd. Before we dig deeper, it's clear that what's hidden on Mars is far stranger than anyone could have guessed, and this discovery won't be the only thing that will shock you. Take water, for instance. The red planet isn't just dry dust, not according to the evidence. We've got hints of rivers, old deltas, and even minerals that need water to form. But while NASA casually drops these discoveries, they seem to downplay what it means. If this world had water, why can't they just admit it might have had life too? Maybe they're worried that telling us it was once an oceanic paradise, or even had microscopic life, would spark a frenzy. Or maybe there's more to it, like those odd methane readings. Methane on Earth is a huge deal because it's often tied to life. The red planet has methane too. The rovers detected it in bursts, but NASA's cautious about making any conclusions. Fluctuating methane levels? Could be rocks, could be microbes. Who knows, right? But that's the thing. Why is NASA being so tight-lipped about it? If they have a hunch it might be microbial life, why not just say it? The easy answer is they don't want to raise false hopes. But maybe, just maybe, they're sitting on something bigger. Something that's not just about microbes, but about what this world used to be. And those photos the rovers keep sending back, they're wild. We've seen rocks that look like statues, shapes that look eerily familiar. People say it's just our brains making shapes out of randomness. But the fact that so many rock formations look like artifacts makes you wonder. If they're not actual remnants of an ancient civilization, they sure do a good job of looking like it. Yet every time these photos go viral, NASA's there with some geological explanation, brushing it off as if we're just seeing things. Maybe, or maybe they're just not ready for us to ask the bigger questions. And how about those so-called fossils that people keep spotting in the photos? Rover images have shown all kinds of formations that look suspiciously like sea creatures or plants. NASA's response: just rocks, folks. Move along. And sure, maybe it's all just wind erosion, but what if it's not? What if somewhere under that red dust there's proof that life was there, or still is, in some tiny microbial form? Would NASA really tell us outright? Or would they hold on to that until they're 100% sure? History suggests they'd take the latter route, cautiously controlling the narrative to avoid global chaos. Speaking of controlling the narrative, there's also the idea of this world having faced some kind of nuclear catastrophe. Wild, right? Well, some controversial scientists think the isotope levels here, like xenon-129, hint at something pretty extreme, maybe even nuclear. While NASA steers clear of this theory, it's got enough strange data backing it to keep people talking. Did this place once have an advanced civilization that met a terrible end? It's the kind of sci-fi stuff that keeps people up at night. But instead of addressing it, NASA's strategy is to stick with safe, boring geological processes. Convenient. Then there's Perseverance, the newest, shiniest rover up there, looking for signs of ancient life in Jezero Crater, which was once an actual lake. They're taking samples, studying soil, and sending back images. But if they found something game-changing, like definitive proof of ancient microbes, would NASA even tell us right away? Some people think no, that NASA might filter the findings, testing the waters before dropping a bombshell. After all, if this world is more like Earth than we thought, If it had lakes, rivers, maybe even tiny life forms, that changes everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe. With each new photo and piece of data, it's clear that Mars might hold more than it appears. NASA's findings hint at layers that go deeper than we thought. Unknown missions hiding the truth. Let's not forget the whispers about terraforming too. Making the red planet habitable for humans is a popular topic. But what if NASA's already taking early steps, even quietly testing out ways to manipulate the environment? Officially, they're sticking to purely scientific exploration, but maybe some of those missions have a double purpose. What if the tech they're developing to study this place is also laying the groundwork for colonization? It's not a huge leap to think that some findings could be kept quiet because they directly relate to future plans that we, the public, aren't yet supposed to know. The red planet keeps pulling us in, not just because of what we know, but because of what we still don't. From methane gas to fossil-like formations, and from hints of water to whispers of nuclear catastrophe, this place has things that might forever change how we understand the universe. The more the rovers explore, the more questions pop up. Questions that NASA seems careful in answering. Are they hiding something, or just being responsible scientists in a world where every word gets dissected and hyped beyond belief? One thing's for sure, the red planet isn't done surprising us, and whether NASA likes it or not, people are going to keep digging for the truth. Now, let's take a deeper dive into the nitty-gritty of what each of these rovers has found, where the pieces of the problem start to come together, and where they unravel. Because the story of this world is long, and the further back you go, the weirder it gets. Take Spirit and Opportunity, those twin rovers that landed in 2004. They weren't just there to snap pictures, they were meant to help NASA understand what the environment was really like. Opportunity found signs of hematite, a mineral that typically forms in water, and Spirit was sniffing out signs of past volcanic activity. This was a huge clue that the red planet wasn't always the cold, dry wasteland it looks like now. But it wasn't just about the minerals. Spirit discovered something called silica, and this stuff is fascinating because on Earth, it's often found in environments where hot springs exist, places teeming with microbial life. Imagine what that could mean here. If there were hot springs, then there could have been conditions that were not only wet, but also warm, ideal for life. Spirit's discovery should have led to a frenzy of research and exploration into the idea of ancient Martian microbes. Instead, it seemed to barely register beyond the initial excitement. Was it just more of NASA's typical caution, or was there something they didn't want to explore too publicly? Then there's Opportunity's discovery of those famous blueberries. No, not actual fruit, but tiny round pebbles that scientists think formed in water. Again, water means potential for life, and these blueberries were everywhere. They showed that Mars had liquid water moving through its ground at some point, and yet the discussion around them never really escalated to the point where people started asking, what lived here? NASA seems to want to talk about water, but stops short of acknowledging what comes next. It's almost like they're avoiding crossing a certain line, one that would force a massive reevaluation of everything we think we know. Moving on to Curiosity. This rover was a game changer. It landed in Gale Crater in 2012, and since then, it's been sending back data that paints a picture of a very different Mars than the one we imagine. Curiosity found evidence of ancient lakes, streams, and clay that formed in water. Clay is a big deal because it's great at preserving organic material. And speaking of organic material, Curiosity found that too. Not life itself, but complex organic molecules. That's like finding the crumbs without finding the cake. Organic molecules are the building blocks of life, and Curiosity found them just lying around in the Martian dirt. But again, NASA's response was cautious. These molecules could be from a non-biological process. They just couldn't bring themselves to hint too heavily at the possibility of ancient Martian life. Curiosity's discoveries made Mars's history seem even more complex, yet each detail brings new questions to the surface. Strange gas leaks on Mars. Then we get to the methane issue. Curiosity detected fluctuating levels of methane in the Martian atmosphere, and this was huge. Methane doesn't stick around long in the atmosphere. It breaks down pretty quickly, so if it's there, something must be replenishing it. On Earth, that something is usually life, especially microbes. The methane on Mars changes with the seasons, and that's just weird. Seasonal methane sounds like something alive, but NASA's line is still maybe geological processes. Maybe. At what point does caution start to look like avoidance? Now let's talk Perseverance. This rover is the newest and has the most advanced technology, aimed specifically at looking for signs of ancient life. It landed in Jezero Crater, which based on the evidence was once a lake. And not just any lake, but one that might have supported an entire ecosystem of microbial life. Perseverance's mission is to collect samples that can be sent back to Earth, where scientists can analyze them in ways they just can't do remotely. If there's proof of ancient life on Mars, it could very well be in one of those rock samples. But here's the question: would we hear about it right away? Or would NASA hold on to that information, verifying and re-verifying until they're absolutely certain, possibly even beyond what's necessary? Perseverance has already found signs of what look like ancient river channels and delta deposits, which are exactly the kind of places you'd want to look if you were searching for fossils. These areas would have been prime real estate for microbial communities back when Mars was wet and warm. But every time a new discovery is made, NASA's language is measured, careful, like they're walking on eggshells. There's a lot of talk about potential habitability and conditions that could have supported life. But it feels like they're tiptoeing around saying anything too definitive. Could it be that they already know more than they're letting on? Let's not ignore the fact that a lot of this data is processed behind closed doors before it ever reaches the public. Every image, every measurement is vetted, analyzed, and contextualized. That's normal in science. You want to make sure your findings are accurate. But the amount of time it takes and the guarded nature of the announcements leads some to speculate that maybe NASA isn't just being cautious. They're being strategic. Because if Mars once supported life, even on a microbial level, it changes a lot. It changes how we think about life in the universe, how we think about our own origins, and even how we prioritize space exploration. There's also a political angle to all of this. Space exploration is expensive, and NASA relies on funding that comes from taxpayers and government budgets. If they announced tomorrow that Mars definitely had life, the demand for missions would skyrocket. The pressure to find more evidence, to explore more, to even start planning for human missions would be enormous. And that kind of pressure might not be something NASA wants right now. They need to move at their own pace, making sure they get things right. But in doing so, they might also be keeping us in the dark about just how much they already know. Let's not forget about those photos that get beamed back from Mars. Every few months, a new image pops up that seems to show something strange. A rock that looks like a face, a shape that resembles an animal, or even what some people say looks like machinery. These images get people talking, and while most of them can be explained away as just oddly shaped rocks, the sheer number of them is enough to make you wonder. Is it really just a coincidence that so many rocks look like familiar shapes? Or could there be something more to it? NASA's usual response is to attribute it to pareidolia, the human tendency to see patterns where none exist. But it feels like they're brushing it off a bit too quickly sometimes, almost as if they don't want us looking too closely. Talk about Mars facing a huge disaster gets stronger as we explore more data. The details hint at a past far more intense than anyone could imagine, clues to life lost on Mars. One of the more bizarre theories out there involves the idea that Mars may have been home to an advanced civilization that met with some kind of catastrophic end. This theory gets its fuel from isotope readings that some researchers say could indicate a nuclear event. Xenon-129, for example, is present in Mars's atmosphere in amounts that some say could be evidence of something extreme, like a nuclear explosion. Now, NASA obviously doesn't entertain this theory, but it's interesting that the data is there, just waiting for interpretation. Could it be that Mars once had a civilization that destroyed itself, or was destroyed by some cosmic event? It's unlikely, but it's not impossible. And the fact that there's even a sliver of data supporting it is enough to keep people talking. The idea of life on Mars isn't just about microbes or ancient lakes. It's also about the potential for a broader history that includes things we can barely imagine. If Mars once had conditions that were similar to early Earth, then who's to say what might have developed there? It could have been as simple as microbial mats forming in shallow lakes, or it could have been something more complex. And if NASA found even a hint of that complexity, would they tell us right away? Or would they take their time, making sure that every possible doubt was erased before they made an announcement? Given how careful they've been so far, it's not hard to imagine them taking the latter route. Mars holds a special appeal, doesn't it? It's not just its resemblance to Earth, with its changing seasons, ice at the poles, and traces of long-gone rivers, that draws us in. There's also a certain familiarity, a sense of kinship with this neighboring planet. It's not merely a lifeless orb. Mars suggests a past bursting with activity, perhaps even life. This possibility keeps our curiosity piqued, fueling mission after mission. We send rovers, each more advanced than the last, each one a beacon of hope that it might stumble upon a discovery that turns our understanding on its head. But amidst this excitement, there's a nagging feeling that we're not getting the full story from NASA. It's as if they're letting us peek through a keyhole, revealing just enough to keep us hooked, but not the entire panorama. With every rover's path, every data packet sent back across the cold void of space, the question looms: are we getting the unfiltered truth, or just fragments NASA deems safe for public consumption? It's clear, however, that Mars still has many surprises up its sleeve. From hints of water and methane to potential signs of past life, the things of Mars are slowly being coaxed out by our relentless inquiry. Every new finding is a piece of the problem, and with each piece, our fascination grows. How much more is buried beneath its surface? Are there things tucked away in its soil that could rewrite books? Or are they just whispers of phenomena we've yet to fully grasp? One thing is sure, Mars continues to captivate and mystify us with its hidden depths. As our rovers make their way through the fine, rusty dust of Mars, and NASA releases its findings bit by bit, our eagerness grows stronger. We're here on Earth, millions of miles away, watching and wondering what marvels we'll discover next. The whole story of Mars is slowly coming into view, and when it finally does, it promises to be filled with intricate details and breathtaking surprises that could shake up how we see life itself. But for now, we wait with bated breath, our gazes locked on that distant red dot in the sky. We're relentless in our quest for knowledge, digging into each piece of data, questioning what we're told, and always looking for more. Mars seems to call to us, urging us to pay attention, to keep questioning, and to reject simple answers. There's a truth out there on that alien world, a subtle invitation to explore what lies beneath its surface. And as long as there are new questions popping up, we'll keep seeking, thinking, and chasing down the complex stories Mars has to tell, hopeful that the next Martian dawn will reveal something new. Is NASA really telling us the truth about Mars? Or is there something bigger they're hiding from the world? Tell us what you think, and remember to like and subscribe for more.